so tall. Hello. Thank you very much for inviting us to be here. It's been a real privilege. I'm very obviously not from Edinburgh either. I was once upon a time from a small town in Northern Ireland. I haven't lived at home for about 10 years. And there's something about, you obviously take great pride in your community, and that's lovely to see. And it's, yeah, it reminded me that I haven't been home for a very long time, and I think there's a lot of that about. There's a lot of moving and maybe people who are not quite where they started out. So that's one of the things I've taken this evening. And the other thing is storytelling and telling your story and standing up and saying what you think. And that's also something that I think is really important. So yeah, this is a poem, a little bit about that. It's called Are the Kids All Right? And I wrote it at the time of the riots last summer, which kind of took a lot of us by surprise, I think. And it starts with a quote by a South African author called J.M. Coetzee from a book called The Life and Times of Michael Kay. And the quote is, "And if I had learnt storytelling at Ween Uranus instead of potato peeling and sums, if they had made me practice the story of my life every day." And when it all kicked off again this summer at home, our hearts sank. We thought we knew how this story unfurled, knew how the streets would be littered with the detritus of violence, the burnt out cars, the shattered glass, the hard arms raised. This was not the old angers re-stoked, this had a new swagger. Bully boys all looked the same behind balaclavas, and I learnt years ago that I would not let myself be frightened by the likes of you. But these images hurt from less familiar streets. This is not my story, and I do not know what to do. You little gods, we cannot match your energy, willful, wanton, and so very fast. And do not speak to me of politics and pathetic fat-cheeked men who have forgotten how to spell I in their culpability. What will you do tomorrow? When at home you count your stash of trainers, sportswear, fetishes, totems with a street value, how do you speak? How will you match the giddiest high of the day you rush the streets? We should have caught your story before. The city is broken and we do not know what to do. The city is broken and we hide behind the hot, frustrated tears of a child whose toys have been snatched without warning. The city is broken and we do not know what to do. We do not know your language and we have not heard your story. I was quite upset at the time that we wrote that. I'm going to cheat slightly. I'm going to read one of mine and one that's by somebody else, and I'm going to take very long, I promise. This was a project that was done at Forest, which was my community and my space and my home. It's in shop, but that's a whole other story. But we ran art projects there, and there was a brilliant project run by an artist called Lucy Ellison called the 1 Minute Manifestos. And it was very simple. If you had 60 seconds, if you had 1 minute to stand up and say what you believed in, what you thought was important, what would you say? And that was it. And some of the stuff that's come out of it is brilliant. You can look them up online. And it's a whole range. But it's a lovely thing to think about. If you had 60 seconds, what would you say to the world? So this is mine. And then I'm going to finish with one by a guy called Alex Kelly, who runs a theatre company in Sheffield, which I think is quite pertinent this evening. So this is my 1 minute manifesto. When you woke up this morning, the world was not the same. The universe was further out, and the magnetic North Pole had shifted about 150 metres closer to Russia. It always shifts. What we call the true north stays the same, but because we made it up. We make up so much. So many rules and regulations and laws and institutions, and some of them we should be proud of, like hospitals and bin men. And centuries of looking hard for stuff like mischief, love, and decency. And some of them we should ignore. Those paper swamps that say the world should be always as it was in the beginning, or at last since the start of the last regime. The swamps that say you can't today wake up and do something, the thing you set your mind and body and conscience to. So when you wake up tomorrow morning and the world is subtly, beautifully different, do not roll over and say to me, another stinking rotten day again, darling, because that is not yesterday's rain. This is the last one, and it's not mine, but I just think it's really pertinent this evening. This is Alexander Kelly. This is a true story. Two friends stand admiring something. I'm not actually sure what they're admiring. I think that it's a building, a Gothic cathedral, stone arches, buttresses and towers soaring. But it could be a bridge. I'm picturing Clifton Suspension Bridge, although it could be the Forth Road Bridge too. Perhaps it is a machine or an engine. I know that one of the friends likes vehicles. It could equally be a painting, maybe something by Pollock or Picasso's Guernica or anything by Paul Arago, or a sculpture, perhaps the figures on Crosby Beach. Let's say it is a building, and they are admiring it. The first friend says, "It's amazing, isn't it, to think that this was built by ordinary people?" "Yes, but," says the second friend, "everything is done by ordinary people."
I absolutely refuse to get a smartphone. In fact, there's several, but that's one of them. The next day I had to get a new phone contract, I went into the shop, they tried to sell me a smartphone. I said, no, I want the most indestructible phone you have. I want one that I can drop off a 10-story building and it won't break. I want one that I can drop in a pond and it won't break. And they gave me this thing that's sheathed in rubber and plastic, and I can throw it at you if I want, and it'll still be fine. That was a group of the performers from Inky Fingers. We all like performing ourselves, but what we really believe in is supporting the work of writers from everywhere, whether that's holding workshops so that people can work on their own work, share feedback with each other, whether it's hosting open mics so that people get a chance to speak. That's what we're all about. And if you'd like to be part of that too, then just give us a shout. We've got a Facebook group, so if you search for Inky Fingers on Facebook, you can find us. We've got a website, search for Inky Fingers Edinburgh, and you'll find it. It's actually inkyfingersedinburgh.wordpress.com, because we can't afford a domain name. Or speak to me afterwards, and I'll give you my phone number if you're not online, and we'll get you along to one of our events. So yeah, that's what we're about. It's really nice to be here to share our work with you, to hear you sharing your work with everybody. It's fantastic.